The concepts covered are weather, climate, and adaptation. Weather influences our lives in different ways. During summer, we switch on fans to keep ourselves cool. We use light-colored clothes in order to reflect the heat. During winter, we use dark-colored clothes and wrap ourselves in warm clothes to protect us from cold environment. During the rainy season, we use umbrella or raincoat as it may rain anytime. The weather of a place changes day after day and week after week. It is a complex phenomenon that may vary over very short periods of time. Weather. The weather of a place can be defined as the measure of its daily atmospheric conditions such as humidity, temperature, lightning events, rainfall, storms, snow, and so on. Elements of weather are rainfall, temperature, humidity, snowfall, storms, winds, etc. Weather report. It generally contains the information about the weather of the day. Meteorological department. The government has a special department called the Meteorological Department that predict the weather of a place and prepare the weather report. The weather report is generally published in newspapers, radio, and television. Weather forecast. It is important for people because many of our day-to-day activities are based on weather conditions. For example, we can check the possibility of rainfall on a particular day and carry an umbrella with us accordingly. The weather of a place is never constant. It can alter every day or even every hour. For instance, the weather might be sunny in the morning in an area but really in the evening. The weather report of a place always includes the minimum and maximum temperatures of the day, which are measured using a minimum-maximum thermometer. The minimum temperature can be experienced in the morning time while the maximum temperature is experienced in the afternoon. Rain gauge. It is an instrument used to measure the rainfall of a place. It is used. The rain gauge collects the rainwater of origin and has a measuring scale which determines the quantity of rainfall of that place. How do changes in weather occur? Any change in the weather of a place on the Earth is because of the sun, which radiates large amounts of heat and light energy on the Earth. The formation of winds, the phenomena of rainfall, and the change in seasons, all occur because of the sun. Why days are shorter in the winter season? We know that the Earth spins on an axis around the sun. Hence, the amount of sunlight a place receives varies throughout the year as its position with respect to the sun changes because of the rotation of the Earth. This also leads to change in the seasons of a place. In the summer season, the position of the place is closer to the sun and hence it receives sunlight for longer hours, while in the winter season the position of a place is farther to the sun and hence, it receives sunlight for shorter hours. Climate. The average weather pattern taken over a long time is called the climate of that place. Different places in the world have different types of climate. The annual record of long-term average temperature and rainfall at a particular place is called climate chart. It gives an idea about the climate at a particular place during a specific period of the year. Different climates on Earth. Climates in India. The climate of India varies in different regions. These can be described as below. The northern region of Himalayas has cold and moderately wet climate, for example Kashmir. Plains has a moderately hot and wet climate, for example Uttar Pradesh. South has very hot and wet climate, for example Kerala. The western region has hot and dry climate, for example Rajasthan. Northeastern India has wet climate, for example Assam, and receives rain for a major part of the year. Climate and adaptation. The climate of a place can affect the living organisms of that area. The animals living in a particular region adapt themselves so that they can survive the weather conditions of that place. The features and habits of the animals start to change as per the climate of the place. Polar region. It is the area of the Earth that surrounds the North Pole and the South Pole is called the polar region. The climate of the polar region is extremely cold throughout the year and receives heavy snow. The sun does not rise for 6 months of the year in the polar region, and then it stays up for the next 6 months. The temperature in the polar region can be as low as 37 degrees Celsius. Most common animals found in these regions are polar bears and penguins. Other animals that can be found in polar areas are fishes, birds, oxen, musk, reindeers, fox, whales and seals. They have adapted themselves so that they can survive easily in these places. The polar bear. Polar bear is a large and white bear that lives in the North Polar region of the Earth. The polar bear mainly feeds on fishes and seal and can survive in the extremely cold climate of polar regions due to the following adaptations. The white fur of the polar bear makes it easier for them to hide in the snow and therefore save them from predators. In the same way, it makes it easier for them to catch their prey. The polar bears have 2 layers of thick fur on them so that they can survive extremely cold conditions. The polar bears move slowly and rest a lot so that they do not get overheated because of their thick fur. The polar bears often swim on warm days to keep themselves cool. The paws of the polar bear are large and wide so that it can swim as well as walk easily in the snow. The polar bear can swim underwater as well because it can keep its nostrils closed for a long time. The strong sense of smell of polar bears makes it possible to locate its prey during such harsh weathers. Adaptation of polar bear. The penguins. Another well-known animal living in the polar regions is the penguin, which can survive due to the following adaptations. The penguins are also white in color so that they can hide in the snow. They have thick skin with large fat content in their body so that they can survive the cold weather easily. The penguins generally live in a crowd or nest closely so that they can stay warm. The penguins have webbed feet which allow them to swim. Adaptation of penguin. Migration. Migration is the seasonal journey taken by different animals or birds to escape the extreme climatic condition in the search of food. For example, Siberian cranes migrates towards warmer region in the autumn by traveling several thousands of kilometers. Migratory birds in the polar region. The birds, in order to protect themselves from cold weather of the winters in the polar region, often migrate from these areas to warmer places. They then return back after the winter season. For example, the Siberian crane migrates to India in Rajasthan, Haryana and some northeast regions during the winter season in Siberia. These birds that migrate to different places during a change in weather are often called migratory birds. They can travel used distances of 15,000 kilometers to protect themselves from the extremely cold environment. Such birds migrate to the same places every year. The migratory birds fly very high so that the heat generated by the flight wings can be disposed of in the cold conditions. The migratory birds have a sense of direction so that they can travel to the same place every time. The migratory birds also use landmarks or follow the direction of the sun and stars to migrate. Some birds also use the magnetic field of the earth and find direction. Tropical regions on the Earth are the regions which are close to the equator and hence receive more amount of sunlight during the year. Because of this, these areas have a hot climate. The temperature in tropical regions can be as high as 40 degrees and can drop until 15 degrees only. The length of the day and night are almost equal in these regions. However, there is a lot of rainfall, and so the tropical rainforests are found in this region. The tropical rainforests are home to a wide variety of vegetation and animals. Due to large habitation, the animals often compete for food in these regions. Many animals have adapted themselves so that they can live on the trees and find their food easily. The skin color of these animals is generally similar to that of the surroundings so that they can catch their prey easily and protect themselves from the predators. Also, many of these animals have a good eyesight and better sense of hearing. Adaptive features of animals found in rainforest. Lion-tailed macaque, it is also called as beard ape and lives in the rainforest of western Ghats in India. It has silver-white mane which surrounds the head from the cheeks down to its chin, which is the specific characteristic of this animal. It is called lion-tailed because its tail is like that of lion, having bunch or tuft of hair at the end. Elephant. Elephants have well-developed sense of smell. It helps the elephant in finding the food. The trunk has powerful muscles which help the elephant in uprooting even a big tree. Elephants have good sense of hearing which help the elephant in sensing danger way in advance. An elephant uses its trunk to sprinkle water all over its body so that it can cool down its body temperature. Monkeys. Monkeys are highly adapted to live in the rainforests. Monkey uses its palms and soles to grip a branch and thus can hang and swing from a branch. It can also use its tail to hold a branch. Monkeys can climb to the topmost branch of a tree and thus can see very far in the jungle. This helps them in sensing the danger and also in finding the food. Frogs. Frogs are adapted to live both on land and in water. The greenish color of the frog helps it in mixing with the green foliage. Frog has a long and sticky tongue with which it catches its prey. The tree frog has developed sticky pads in its claws. This helps the tree frog in climbing a tree and in holding onto a branch. Adaptation in toucan. Toucan is a bird, which is found in tropical rainforest and which possesses a long, strong and large beak. This bird is adapted for tropical rainforest in several ways. It is a colorful bird which possesses a strange beak. It lives most of the time in the holes of big trees. The long and large beak helps toucan to reach the fruits attached to the ends of even thin branches of tree that are weak enough to support its weight.